And it is Friday, May the 17th, football in the air on the Maize and Blue Review. So good afternoon, Michigan Football Pod, and we are joined by former Wolverine Jerry Diorio, who is ready to go on this Friday. Jerry, great to see you. How are you?
Great to be a Michigan Wolverine, Denny.
Well,
having a great time being a golf ranger out at Maple Hills in Grand Rapids, Michigan, outside of Wyoming, Michigan. So we just started up our leagues and off the tee.
Have you had to use your authority at times, Jerry, whether it's some reckless drivers or people out of sorts or anything? Got anything good there?
No, they say I have too much fun at work. That's the problem. Like I have a little bit too much fun with the leagues and all the people. So no, I haven't had to do anything. Last year I had a little bit of an issue. A young man thought he could go 3 on a cart, and so I took him back to the clubhouse and said you can't do that. And he was at the furthest point on the golf course, Denny. This is my old coaching experience coming back to me. So I drove him back to the clubhouse. And he started walking over to a driving cart, and I said, no. That's your cart. You know, one of those hand wheelers.
Hand cart.
He had to walk all the way back. He didn't do it anymore, though.
Jerry is a ranger. Will the golf cart, the beverage cart, will it stop and give you free refreshments?
The beverage cart, they know what they're doing with that. So, yep, they're good.
They'll give you a drink. Okay, well, that's good.
They know what they're doing.
It's going to be a hot one this weekend. It'll be hot out at the course. We got a hot show for you today. Last week, we looked at the Michigan too deep on offense and gave our thoughts. And Jerry looking at not only the starters, but the guys behind them. And so this week we'll do the defense. So if you are watching this and where the offense, well, that was last week, and you can find that where you find your podcast, where you watch the YouTube. So that's available for you. But today, the too deep on defense. Jerry does have a few plays from the spring game, so we look forward to that always. But we'll start. There's some some big news with Michigan via the portal, Jerry, as the Wolverines have been able to have 2 new additions, and we'll tell you about that momentarily. I do want to tell you that we want to see you over on the Maize and Blue Review today. To do that, go to michigan.rivals.com, sign up, get ready to go for the rest of the spring, all summer, all the defending champ stuff, how things are looking in the future, not hysterical, everything's falling apart. Not everything, just sit back and smell the roses, right where you want it. That sweet spot over on the Maize and Blue Review. So we will see you over there. Jerry, Michigan gets a corner from Albany. Amir Hall commits to Michigan, a former FCS All-American corner with the Albany Great Danes, a 6'2" listed corner, made his pledge to Sharon Moore yesterday after getting into the transfer portal back on March the 1st. What do you think?
Well, Denny, I think if you look at the too deep and watch the spring game the way we have and look at some of the things that have happened since the national championship game, I would say that probably the need to get into the transfer portal and get some people out of the transfer portal would have been in the secondary. I mean, we just lost some very high quality safeties. You have Saab, you had Santa Still, you got Rod Moore. So 3 huge losses. Then you bring in this Amir Hall from Albany, and correct me if I'm mistaken, Denny, but didn't we have a Division I AA or FCS corner from Massachusetts transfer last year and help us win a national title? That would have been Wallace.
Yeah, Josh Wallace came in, and he was is he gave Michigan as much as you would, and he played better as he went along. So yeah, he was fabulous.
Yeah, so this kind of sounds a little bit like the same thing. We're getting a corner. I love the size, 6'2". That goes well with Will Johnson on the other side. So this could really help solidify the corners and make competition on the corners that much better. If we're looking at the corners right now, we're looking at on my 2 deep. I'm looking at obviously Will Johnson, Quentin Johnson. I got him listed as a corner. McBurrows and Hill. Would you disagree with those 4?
I would think Quentin Johnson would be more of a safety, but
okay.
I do think that the thing that jumps out to me is DJ Waller, who was in that 2 deep. He was a bigger corner and went to Youngstown. And this kid from Albany, Hall, he is a taller corner. So I think he'll come in and fight for playing time. This next portal edition, Michigan got 2 DBs today. Former Tennessee safety Wesley Walker. So Michigan gets 2 Walkers via the transfer portal. This one, Wesley Walker. And according to Pro Football Focus, it's always nice to have one of these little taglines with your picture. And they got a picture of Walker in a Tennessee uniform. And they said 0 TDs allowed last season in 349 coverage snaps.
Yep.
Sorry. So that's not chopped liver. That's not 49 coverage snaps. You know, if you're playing 12, that's a lot of reps.
Not to mention 13 tackles from what I have on some of the stats on this young man. Forced fumble, couple pass breakups. So he was obviously productive at Tennessee last year. He definitely had some production last year at Tennessee, and he's going to come in and help us where we need it. I mean, he's going to make that competition in that secondary room a little bit better. And like I said earlier, we lost 3 quality safeties, and we are desperate need for depth at the safety position. The strong safety, free safety combo there, and this is a great pickup. This is a great pickup by our coaching staff, and they're identifying need areas that we have. I think it's very apparent to everybody that one of the biggest need areas we have is to replenish some of that secondary that we lost. So 2 great pickups. I'm really excited. I didn't realize the young man from Albany was that tall. So great pickup there. And this one's he's competitive. I mean, he's SEC experienced. Like Michael Burden says, he comes from the SEC. I mean, he's going against SEC teams. So this is 2 good pickups, in my opinion. They're going to help already very talented defense.
Nice. Well, so Michigan has a magnificent 7. Remember last year it ended up being, it was 9, and then they got a late transfer kicker, Hudson Hollenbach, to make it 10. But right now, Michigan's sitting at 7. They had, for the longest time, Josh Preeb and Jay-Sean Barnum out of the Big Ten from Northwestern and Maryland, respectively. They got a kicker from Arkansas State, Dom Zavada. From your neck of the woods, Jerry C.J. Charleston, a wide receiver from Youngstown State, formerly from Michigan, Amarian Walker, who went to Ole Miss for a minute, and then now we have another Walker, Wesley Walker, and Amir Hall from Albany. But you go through there, an offensive lineman, a linebacker, a kicker. Those 3, I would think all 3 of those guys you would lock in as starters. I don't know about Charleston and Walker. Those look like depth pieces as wide receivers, and the same thing with the safety and corner. But these guys will have a chance, and they'll be in the 2 deep. That's how I read it.
Well, when I look at this list here, Denny, I'm looking, and if you were to ask me right after the national championship game, where do we need to go in the Porter to enhance our team? What are some of the weak areas that, or not weak areas, but areas where we're not as deep as others? And obviously, right off the bat, the offensive line. We lose all 6 offensive linemen, 6 deep on the offensive line. So we lose them, and we pick up Preeb. And then we also know we have Crippen and Eldahad sitting in there. Jadis has had a great spring, and so our offensive line has gotten deeper. And we brought in Preeb. We also, when you look back at last year, we lose 2 phenomenal inside linebackers, great leaders, great players, people that are going to be sorely missed. And what do? We replace one of them with Jashawn Barnum, and that might be one of the best linebackers, if not the best inside linebacker in the Big Ten. So we're losing our kicker again for the 3rd year in a row, and we go out and look for some kickers. We're losing 2 great offensive weapons in the wide receiver, and we go out and address it and go get a couple. And now we've seen we have some issues in the secondary. We could use some depth there. We go out and get them. So it looks like we're utilizing the transfer portal to identify need areas now where we're going after people that can contribute now. And we're leaving the recruiting to what that is, recruiting and building and developing your talent and developing your program. So I like what we're doing in the transfer portal. We're identifying need areas. We're going after people that could contribute right away. And we're marrying that with the recruiting. I like what we're doing in the offseason.
2 years ago, Michigan fans were freaking out about NIL and the transfer portal, saying that Michigan needs to get with the times when it comes down to paying high school players, and they also need to adjust their criteria with their academics because they're just not going to be able to get anybody via the transfer portal. And now we fast forward a little bit. NIL's been great for Michigan, keeping their players. You got to keep your players, then you got to go out, and then you got to get players in the transfer portal, exactly. And then you got to use NIL with preps. And that last piece, there's still, if you're somebody that still wants to worry about something, there still is that last piece. But the first 2 pieces, retaining the players that are on your team, with the bankroll that you have, they've done a fine job doing that. I think that everyone would have to agree. I also think for the portal, they got to start late, Jerry. If, Harbaugh left on January the 24th, the season, and then Michigan played all the way, obviously, which was great, to January 8th. All of the other teams besides Michigan and Washington, they had all kinds of time to go out there. And, Michigan, I suppose, could have, while they were playing, bringing people, had an eye on the transfer portal and everything else. But there was you didn't know if it was going to be Harbaugh. And so they got a late start is my point on that. You might have even a few different names and bigger names on this with the transfer portal when it came down to it. But all in all, being able to get some guys in and solidify your team, however it is going to be, whether it's going to be starters like Preeb and Barham and likely the kicker, or just some depth pieces and possible starters when you look through the guys today. And as Ralphie points out on the feedback, I wasn't aware of this, that Wes Walker also has a brother who is a defensive end who is in the portal as well. So, whether or not he follows his brother to Ann Arbor, if that's all true, that's something maybe to keep an eye on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I said, Denny, I'm pleased with this list. I'm looking at this list. Yeah, we got a late start. That's fun. Yeah, we did have a late start, but again, with that late start, we're getting a late start with a national championship in our back pocket. We're giving our kids a box full of rings. So those rings are luring some of these transfer portal kids in. And when you talk about getting in there late and getting into the transfer portal late and doing things there late, well, this is a pretty solid list as far as I'm concerned, as far as quality players. I don't think there's a better linebacker in the big other ahead of Barnum. So I think that might be the biggest pickup on the defensive side in the Big Ten. You can say what you want about the kid from Alabama going to Ohio State, but Barnum is a heck of a pickup. That's as quality as a player as you're going to get in the portal. So that's a great pickup. Lots of experience there. So no, I'm very happy. Even late start and all that, we still got the rings to showcase to these kids, and that's exactly what they want to play for. They obviously want to play for money now, but they also want to play for rings, and that's what these transfer portal kids are seeing. There's a chance.
Jerry, you don't want to call it the Big 18. Like, you didn't call it the Big 14. You're still calling it the Big 10. There's no reason to call it the Big 18, right?
How about the Big? Are we going to just start calling it the Big?
No, I think the Big. It hasn't been the Big 10 for a while, so I think Big 10 still has the ring to it. Not the Big 12. Not the Big.
What do we call it, Denny? The Big
18.
The Big 18.
I think the Big 10, and then everybody knows
the Big 10 plus 8.
The Big 10 plus 8. If I had to go somewhere, it's just the Big 10 rolls off the tongue. We all know what we're talking about. Michael wanted to go through all of the defensive guys coming in as true freshmen. We've added most of them, not all of them, but we'll see as we go through. If I could add as we go through the 2 deep on defense, if there are going to be some potential freshmen that could be there. And David, I'll do it here because Michigan has a pair. Actually, they have a trio of true freshmen: Owen Wafel, that's coming in, David Polly, and Manuel Bagel. Now, how they fit in, I would be hesitant to say that Michigan is going to have a true freshman playing, as defensive tackle. But, it was only a couple of years ago, Jerry, that Mason Graham came in, and Michigan had Chris Jenkins, and they had Mozzie Smith, and Mason Graham was a starter with those kind of players that are in the NFL. So maybe one of those trio of freshmen could come in. I didn't list them here, but as we look at the 3 in the Michigan, it should say 3-4 there, not 4-3, the nose tackles, the defensive tackles, and defensive ends. Certainly the starters, Grant and Graham, and depending on how they want to, if they want to go with 2 inside linebackers or they want to bring in Rayshon Benny and extra, they've got a lot of flexibility there. But Grant and Graham, and I would say a little bit of Benny, these are household names for Michigan fans.
Well, Denny, when we look at last year's defensive script, and we might get into this a little bit on the film because we blitzed a ton in that spring game. I was surprised to see, after watching the film numerous times, how much we really did blitz. I mean, we came after our offense pretty aggressively, and we did drop off in the zone. So you could definitely see the difference between the man coverage and the zone coverages and what we were seeing. As far as what I saw from our freshmen, I'm going to go back to the freshmen. And, when I played, we never had freshmen going into spring ball. And that was just recently the development where freshmen were starting to get into spring ball. But 2 kids that really stuck out to me on the defensive side, Cole Sullivan, number 18, linebacker. He completely destroyed a couple offensive linemen in that scrimmage and made some great plays and made a huge play on a 4th down that turned the ball over for the Mays. So this Cole Sullivan, great competition out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. They played great football down there, Catholic school kid. I'm real excited to see more of him. He really impressed me in the spring game. The other young man, Dominic Nichols, did a phenomenal job. Came off the corner real tight on a play, made a play in the backfield one time in the spring game, and he always seemed to be around the ball. Those 2 players right there really get me excited on the defensive side with our recruiting class, because you're looking at 2 pretty good-sized kids. I mean, Cole Sullivan, 6'3", 215. He's going to be 235, 240 by the time he's a junior or senior. So his height is going to make for a great framework later on. Dominic Nichols, 6'5", 251 freshman. I mean, that's an outstanding size for an edge player, and he had a great spring game, made a lot of good plays, and really looked like he could contribute right away. So those two players right away stick out to me. Some of the sophomores on the edge were looking pretty good as well.
You mentioned the edge, and here are some of the players after looking at the tackles, maybe the best in Michigan history, maybe the best in the country right now. And the edge position has been really good to Michigan since they have changed to the 3-4. And Derek Moore and Josiah Stewart, all Michigan fans know that when Jalen Milroe was stopped in overtime in the Rose Bowl, these two guys were not only on the field, but they were heavily involved in that play. Was it Stewart who took the tackle right from Alabama and really threw him around? And then Derek Moore was crashing in, and I don't know if he had a hand on Milroe. Did he make the tackle on Milroe? I mean, he was in there. So both of these guys, even though they weren't technically starters last year, they were in there on the last play, which makes you feel like they might as well be starters, Jerry. And then you mentioned the true freshmen and Nichols and Sullivan already, and I would mention the Frenchman Kumba, who looked pretty good as well in the spring game.
Tremendous amount of depth, Denny. I mean, Kumba was outstanding. I loved him watching him play in the spring game. He was outstanding. Bennett showed me some really good things at the on the edge, and we're talking about TJ Guy. He got in there and made some plays. So the edge, I think we're very solid. I think we've got a lot of depth there. Stewart is the one who threw, I believe it was the 11th pick in the NFL draft this past spring, right into Milroe's lap. So our edge play, when you look up front, to not consider that as one of your criteria in picking your top 5 or top 10 teams in the nation, I think you're making a huge mistake. But when you look at Michigan up front, defensively, I don't see anybody better in the country right now. As we stand here right now, I don't see anybody in those 4 and 5 positions better in the country. And then you add Barnum, and you add Rolder and the young man from Nebraska. You Houseman. You add those. You're looking at a box that's really going to be tough to run on. I mean, you're looking at some dominant players: Graham, Grant, Benny. Lot of rotation in there. The edges, the inside interior. You're going to have a hard time running the ball on Michigan this year. I really believe that.
Yeah, just the names and what we know about him, Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham. Rayshon Benny got hurt against Alabama. Whether or not he's going to be ready at the start of the season, that would be something that we will monitor in August. To be a good question for Sharon Moore. But Eno Etta looks like he is certainly ready to be a big part for this Michigan team. But you start saying Grant, Graham, and Benny, and then you're talking about Moore and Stewart, you're feeling pretty good about.
And look at those backups. Put that last slide up there, Denny. Look at those backups. Iwuna, he's playing anywhere else in the country probably. He's probably starting anywhere else in the country. Cameron Brandt has some experience, and he's going to play at a lot of different places in the Big 8, the Big 10 plus 8. So I mean, a lot of depth there. Eno, he could play in a lot of different places. So we've got a lot of depth up front on those 2 and 3 positions right there on the defensive line. We already took a look. Lots of depth on that 5-8 on that front 8 lineup for Michigan. Lots of depth.
I like it. Let's see some of the feedback. Old Timer is talking about Cole Sullivan, and I think talking about Cole Sullivan after what we saw in the spring game, I think is understandable. Both him and Nichols. If you said that those guys will get in there, there's only so many snaps. That's the one thing. Even when you had, last year when you had Jalen Harrell and Braden McGregor, and with Moore and Stewart, those guys were rotating. But you had Mike Morris in there the year before. It was hard for guys to get in there and get too many snaps. So I don't know. You got your two, and then you got your two guys behind that. But other than that, Jared, until late in a game, I mean, you've got a real two deep. So I think the competition, I have Breon Ishmael and TJ Guy listed here, but if you told me it was Kumba or Sullivan or Nichols, was one of those guys to get some snaps, I wouldn't argue with you too much. But that's a good thing. You got a solid starters, and then you've got guys all over the place that you like at edge, and from Michigan for the last 3 years and recruiting and how they've been doing things, just like we know how they want to play football, Jerry, with the way they want to run the ball and get the ball to the tight end on defense. They want these edges to play a big factor in what they're doing, and they've got really good players inside, which frees things up outside and also frees up those linebackers.
Well, here's the other thing, Denny, whoever isn't in that 2 or 2.5 deep, guess where they're going to be going to practice at? At the other end of the field as scout team and demo players. So you look at our scout teams and what's preparing our first and second teams. Our scout teams could probably beat 60-70% of the Big 10 plus 8.
I like it. Let's look at some of the feedback where we have Michael, who has been active today. Feedback. He loved the beautiful goal line stand against Bama. So did Mark, who says it was more critical than starting the last stand. I'll agree with him on that. You coaches say that kind of stuff, Jerry. It's not who's starting, it's who's finishing, right?
Absolutely.
Stewart drove block the right offensive tackle. Latham back in the Milrose path. Milrose tripped over Latham's leg, stopping him cold. How about AJ thinks Ishmael is going to be the guy, going to be a guy to it stops there, but that's it. And he is mentioning that Michigan in recruiting got the top defensive end or edge out of Illinois, and that's a good thing to remember, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Denny, I mean, everybody keeps throwing up names here, and at the end of the day, there's only going to be 11 guys on the defensive side of the field on a play, and there might be 11 behind them ready to go in and play. But after that, I mean, you're going to be, our demo teams are going to be very strong. Let me put it that way. Our demonstration teams are going to be very, very strong.
Well, and it's not defense, Jerry. It's offense. But one of the things that I don't know, it was just encouraging to hear, something that not everyone thinks about, but it came from Alex Orji when he was asked about his experience and what makes him think, that he can lead this team. And he said he had a pretty good feel for what he could do for the last 2 years, taken in live action on the demo squad against the Michigan defense last year, and then the year before in live scrimmages as a quarterback going against that Michigan defense, the 23 and 22 defense from Michigan, both littered with NFL players attacking, all over, good corner, good at every level. So it's not whoever he goes against, it's not going to be like, oh, he hasn't seen this.
Klunder, Etta, Brandt, Ikuwana, these guys have played against Zach Zenner, Keegan, Nugent. They've been playing against these guys every day. So when they go into the game, they aren't going to be afraid of anything. They've seen the best for a long time. So that's the beautiful thing about Michigan and where we're at right now as a program. We're talking about kids that a lot of people don't know their names, but I guarantee you they've got some great quality reps under their belt against some solid football players, draft choices in the NFL, and they're not going to back down from anybody.
All right, let's look more at the defensive two deep. We've gone through pretty quickly from the guys up front to the edge. We looked at the inside linebackers, Barham and Houseman. They seem like they're pretty well good to go there. Let's get to the safety position, and we have the new addition in Wesley Walker from Tennessee listed in there. I know Quentin Johnson, Makari Page, Zeke Berry, Makari Page, Wes Walker in Makari Page, whatever you're thinking. How about this question for you, Jerry? John says he hopes taking Wes Walker, doesn't stunt the development of young guys like Brandon Hillman. What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, well, again, I think Michigan is looking at this thing and they're saying, what do we need help with right now? What do we need some experience with right now? Brandon Hillman might be showing a lot at practice, might be doing a lot of great things. But, you know, what Michigan is doing is trying to build as deep a defense as possible, as deep as team as possible. And they're going to come in with guys that have quality reps and experience that are going to be able to play. And guys like Hillman, you know, they're going to be developed in one way or the other. Either they're going to be on the demo squad and they're going to be facing Orgy and Edwards in that offense. They're going to have to go against them, or they're going to be on that two deep. So they're going to be developed one way or the other.
Yeah, and I understand that question. There's been a lot of folks before last year, Michigan brought in 10 players out of the transfer portal. And there's the thought, you go to Michigan as a prep out of high school, you might redshirt, you know, whether you're saying you're toiling or waiting your turn. There were a lot of guys, and they're still on this team.
Yes.
Crippen, Raheem Anderson,
yes.
El Hadi, who I thought for sure was going to go in the Ohio State game at guard, but it was the Barnhart, you know, who came who they moved down and he played guard. A lot of other players, they might have just hit the transfer portal, but all of the offensive linemen, Michigan was you could make a case that they were set at offensive line last year, and they still brought in Ladarius Henderson. They still brought in Miles Hinton. They still brought in Drake Nugent. And there were some Michigan fans saying, hey, what about these guys that have waited their turn? And won't that, you know, mess with team chemistry? Those were all good questions, but this is how football has changed, Jerry. Like, you go out, you have your team, and then you have coaches that are monitoring the entire country and film and watching games, and they have their two deep and their rankings. And if guys come available, you know, they try to get them, and then they're going to fit them in here. And, you know, that's just part of the big business of this. You know, it's hey, sorry, but we can bring it. You can wait around 4 years, and they can bring in a guy, poof, like that, and he can be in there and he can take your job. That's how it's working.
Well, and again, you're coming into Michigan. You know the program is solid. You know you're going to get good quality reps every freaking day because you're going to have to compete either at the demo level or on the in the two deep package. But you're going to go against the best players in the country. And whether you're on demo, whether you're on the two deep, you're getting good quality reps and you're developing as a player. And I think that's where Michigan has really done a great job over the last 3 years. Like you said earlier, Denny, not only getting kids from the portal to come into Michigan, but keeping these kids from leaving that see competition coming into their position. So, you know, they're willing to wait their turn, and they know that when their turn comes, they're going to get their opportunity, and they're going to be prepared because of what they've already done. They've already seen some of the best talent in the country.
We have a point here from Richard, who's talking about the safeties that are over 6 feet. Makari Page is 6'4". The new safety that they just got today from Tennessee, Wes Walker, is listed at 6'1". And so there's part of it in there where you're looking through. So yeah, they've got a couple. They've got two.
Yep.
And so there we are. Now we go to corner. Jerry, Michigan's got the best corner in the country, and Will Johnson. Jair Hill on the other side. The new corner, Amir Hall, at 6'2", where he fits in. Is it behind Will Johnson? Is it behind Hill? Does he compete for starting reps? At nickel, Jaden McBurrows and Cody Jones, pretty important, pretty tough to pick up the slack the way Mike Sainer still played, but these are the DBs. These are the corners. Johnson and Hill, Harris, Pollard, and Hall. And then, with the ability, if you're a nickel, sometimes with McBurrows, he played a little corner in the spring game. So these are not things that are, I think, set in stone right now. But this is what it looks like, I think, at least coming out of spring.
When you got corners sitting at 6'2", and I think we're going to see at least 3 of our first 4 corners, they're going to be over 6'2". So when you got cornerbacks that are sitting at 6'2", that's pretty good. That's a long reach that Will Johnson has, that these guys have. They can run, they can move, but a lot of leverage, a lot of space that they can cover with that 6'2" frame. So at the corners, I'm really liking our size. I think we're in pretty decent shape there. And like John said, don't forget about Zach Berry. Berry, I thought, had a phenomenal spring. And
Zeke
so,
Berry,
or Zeke Berry, he had a phenomenal spring, and he's going to be right in that mix. He's going to be competing with all of them.
Yeah, I thought we have a picture of Zeke Berry with his ZB chain, and he was made available after the spring game, which makes you think, at least makes me feel like they liked how he participated and liked what he did in spring. They don't just put anybody, let everybody go, just talk to the media after the spring game. They select the players, and so I thought that was at least something that he had going for him.
God, I hope old timer's right. I think Hill is going to be a great player. I think he is outstanding. If he has a great year, I mean, we're going to be pretty good. We're going to be pretty happy with our corners.
These are the questions that, because Michigan was in on the safety from Michigan State, Mangham.
Yep.
And that's everybody wants to know what his status is. Now, I saw Josh Henschke, the publisher of the Maize and Blue Review, who answered this question earlier, and he said his status is not affected. Mangham's is not. I would tell you that, to me, I would think that his status would be affected just by the mere numbers that you're looking at with the position group. Michigan brought in a safety, and it's not like they brought in somebody, this chopped liver that they brought in a proven guy from Tennessee. Now, maybe Mangham's like, hey, I don't care. I'm ready to compete. I want to stay in the state of Michigan or my fan, whatever. There could be a lot of reasons, but I would think that it would affect it. And if Michigan's chances were very good, I would think they would be just fair now. So I would downgrade it, but that's me. And, Henschke, who's he's on the phone, he's talking with a lot, but I would guess, not to be like, go against Josh or anything, but that's my feeling, that it would affect it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, here's the thing. You're looking at leaving this school to go to a school. Well, I'm looking at Michigan. What's Michigan have to offer? Phenomenal alumni, phenomenal degree, great opportunity to compete, great talent to compete against every day. And you're going to be competing for a national championship or a Big Ten plus 8 championship every year. So that's a reason to go in. I mean, those rings mean something. I like wearing my rings.
Sure. The depth chart, though, has been affected just now. And also, I'm not privy to the exact numbers, whatever Michigan is doling out in terms of NIL for these guys coming in. But was it first come, first serve, here with, let's just say, I don't know, $50,000 for somebody that was there for the taking if they wanted it, but somebody else wants to come in, they get a 50. I don't know if anybody's getting anything. I presume that they are. because I know it's such a big thing across the country, and then Michigan's right there front and center, and they're able to get guys. I don't think that they're just sitting back saying, "Hey, we're just Michigan. We're Michigan." Maybe they are. Maybe all these guys are coming in saying, "Man, this is transfer. I'm going to transformational U." Maybe, but I also think that could be a factor. But that's just me, talking off the top of my head without knowing all the particulars of what's going on and everything else. And Michigan was people talking about Mangham. His last visit was in Ann Arbor. He could still be here, and so. Michigan got the last chance with him. So that's always a big deal. And then Bo was talking about Michigan needing that nose tackle, that Suggs. I was thinking that LSU was that was his last visit. And also with Brian Kelly, who's got the ties to the state of Michigan with Grand Valley State, even though it's been over 20 years. I mean, if you're there one time, I mean, you do have that connection. So that was me in putting my recruiting hat on when it came down to, I think Javier Suggs is, I think, the defensive tackle.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So there it is. All right, Jerry, there it is from the too deep with the defense and also with the now magnificent 7 when it comes to the transfer portal. Do we want to look at a play or two?
Yeah, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea, Denny. I want to start off. Let me see if I can share this with you real quick. You want to talk about Maize and Blue review, quick cut, whatever you want to talk about? Go ahead. Let me get this up.
I do. I want to remind everyone that the video that we will watch from the spring game is brought to you by Quick Cut Video and Analytics, and we thank them. They do a great job. You're looking to cut up some film and get in there. You want to be Jerry Diorio and get in there with the X's and the telestrator. You can do it. And here we are, and we're ready to go with some spring football.
So Denny, this first play I want to show. This is counter trey. When you look at Michigan's offense, a lot of the offense looks a lot alike. But when you look at the playbook, there's a lot of plays in here, okay? This is counter trey. Just like power, it's all gap down, and pull around. But instead of pulling around and coming in the tunnel, the guard is going to kick out because we have the second tunnel guy coming in with the H-back or the fullback or whoever. I mean, that non-offensive lineman is going to be in the tunnel. When the tackle pulls, I call that counter. When the wing or the fullback pull, I call that counter trey. And so, but the whole essence of the play is the same thing. It's all block down, kick out, tunnel, and run your play. This is counter trey, and big play here. 4th and 2. Great job right there by the outside linebacker. That's number 27. McLaren, Tyler McLaren. He does a great job. What does he do so great? He constricts the hole. He comes down on a fada or a faba and really kind of just takes that hole and stops it from growing. The other thing that makes this play, let's look at, I think it's McLaren, number 93, or who's Menster, excuse me, Menster, right here.
We're talking about the blue roster?
Yep, right here.
Yeah, we have a defensive lineman named Joseph Klunder.
Nope, this is Charlie Menser, I think Menser.
He is listed as a punter. So the other 93 is listed as a defensive lineman.
Oh,
so
excuse me, that's right. It is right. My bad, Denny. It's Klunder.
That's right.
So what is Wink? What's the defense doing? They're gonna angle to the counter. They guess right and angle to the counter. Klunder stops the hole from gaining because he angles right into the tight end. What you see here right off the bat is a stalemate. Boom. Boom. There's no movement. The right tackle, we've got to get movement, and I guarantee you this is going to be something that they're going to have to preach in the fall. Take care of level 1 first. Get movement on level 1 first, because if you don't get movement on level 1, there is no hole. Look at what he does to that hole. Even though he doesn't make the play, he creates that mess that stops the hole from gaining. So great job by Klender. Great job by 27 McLaren, and great job by the defense right there. But that's counter trade. That's what I call counter trade. Just like power, but instead of a fullback kicking out, you got the guard kicking out. Instead of a guard tunneling, you got a H-back or tight end tunneling. And what am I going to here? I'm going to go back and just point that out. Here's your kick out. Your right guard has got to get the kick out. Here's your tunnel. He's going to try to get into this tunnel, into this funnel here, and pick up a linebacker. But because of what the defense does, they can't get on it. It makes the play bounce outside. That's not where the play wants to go. And Michigan defenders are scraping and making the play outside. Great job by Rolder there. And great job by the corner there, too. So,
Jerry, we got Richard throwing a flag on that play. It says illegal procedure by number.
Yeah, I saw that too, Richard. I saw that too. But they didn't. You know what, Richard, though? Sometimes the refs miss those kind of things.
That's right. They're not.
All right, here's Nichols. Here's Nichols. Watch how tight he comes off the edge. I think I showed this a couple weeks ago. I just want to show this kid real quick. Watch how quick he comes down the line. Here he is right here. This is Nichols right here. I mean, this doesn't look like a freshman. This is not a shy, timid freshman playing. This kid is coming in here and saying, I want to play right away. Comes down the line, flat down the line, great path, and just gets in the backfield before 77 Frazier can get a glove on him. Great job. And the kid's got size. I mean, 6'5", 251. Kid's got size. I'm looking for big things from this kid.
Is his job to blast into the backfield there, because he looked like right off the snap? I mean, he was keying in.
What I would tell, okay, what I'm telling my outside guy, what I'm telling my defenders, okay, my key is right here on this tackle.
All
as
right.
soon as he steps down, I'm coming as flat as I can off his butt, because as soon as he steps down, he just kind of gave me an opportunity to make that hole smaller. Does that make sense to you, Denny?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, his path. Now, that's the design of the play. He's got to make that block. Frazier's got to end up making that block. But this is just an outstanding job by Nichols coming off the edge and making that play in the backfield. It should be blocked. Frazier should have that block. He's got a good angle on him. He's got to move his feet a little bit quicker, hinge back a little bit quicker. But that's an outstanding play by Nichols right there. I got a feeling this kid's going to make a lot of people happy in Ann Arbor.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Yeah, Nichols.
And it's Kelly Greens, huh? You remember that? You remember that, Denny?
Oh, yeah.
His Kelly Green shorts against Muhammad Ali?
Rumble in the Jungle, wasn't it?
No, the first one I'm talking about. Okay, here we go. Now, this is another scenario where our offensive line is going to have to really work hard this fall to get better at. But what I like here on these two, I think it's Gentry and the youngster number 54, Ganera. I don't have his pronunciation yet. But these two really do a nice job working on the same level, following their path. Watch Gentry. He's watching this outside edge guy. When the outside edge comes underneath, his eyes go inside, and now we have the outside contained. We've got them flanked. We got the defense flanked. Okay, better combo because of the path. What we need to see from Hill. This is a great job by Hill on the defensive side. But see how Gentry is eyeballing this edge. As soon as that edge comes down, he just naturally goes into the twist of the tackle. And now look at this outside. He's got Etta pinned. We've got number 52, Bennett caved in. And we really have a nice perimeter here. Look at this out here. He's got some room. So great job by Hill breaking that up at the last minute. Outstanding job But I like what I just saw from our offensive line there, working on the same level, working with their path, working as a combo. I see some great improvement there. These two kids, I'll tell you what, we've got some great tight ends in this freshman class. They must see that Loveland's going to be gone, and there's going to be some opportunity, and Michigan loves their tight ends. So we've got 4 good ones. This is Hansen and Priestcorn. Watch what they do. These are not small people that they're going against here. You got McKinnon, Jack McKinnon, 6'4", 244, sophomore, and then you've got Kumba on the edge, 6'5", 254. Watch what these 2 tight ends do. And this is something we've talked about all winter, or even from last year. We need tight ends to get on their man, keep their feet moving, and get movement. We get a hat on a hat. Priestcorn, 6'6", 245. Hansen, 6'5", 230. Watch the movement. And what I really like from Hansen is he's engaged. He's staying engaged. He keeps his feet moving. And as soon as McCrinnon reaches, that's when the pancake occurs. You see that, Denny?
Yeah.
And that's an extra yard or 2. And those kinds of plays take their toll on the defender. How many times are you going to go down on your back like that during a game? And that's not just McKinnon. That's a lot of people that are going to reach. And our tight ends are proving that they can stay engaged and keep their feet moving and finish blocks. So good job there. I like Priestcorn against Kumba here. This is a heck of a defensive edge right there. And then great hard run. Watch Dunlop put his shoulders down, and he picks up another. Boom. He's hit right there. Right there, Denny, right? How many more yards do you get by putting his shoulders down and running through it? 3 more yards. Almost 4 yards right there. Would you agree with that, Denny?
Yeah, falling forward. I love it.
Love it. You know, that's what Bo used to always say. I want to see the running backs that come out of the other edge or the other end of the pile. That's when I know I got a running back. When he comes out the other end of the pile, I know I got somebody I can count on. Now, this is culture. This is I wanted to show this a couple weeks ago, but this is just the difference between culture. And we've talked about this time and time and time again, Denny. You are what you are. You want to be a tough team. Well, you better start recruiting like tough teams recruit. Big tight ends, great athletic offensive linemen, running backs that are going to run downhill. This is a culture. This is a culture, how we're playing. We're in a spring game a week or 2 after Ohio, and we're still hitting. We're still taking running backs down, even when they're out of bounds a little bit. But we have instilled a culture that we want to hit people, and we're going to hit every time we go on the field. What I wasn't crazy about is a lot of this. A lot of 10 in the box with 11 not in the picture. And it's telling me we're blitzing a lot. And we're moving these guys around a little bit more than I like. But we'll see how that goes. We'll see how the summer comes out. But nice job by Priestcorn kicking out. Number 29, that's Josh Nichols. Never leave your feet. Don't leave your feet. Don't leave your feet until absolutely necessary. He leaves his feet and he doesn't make the tackle. That's why he doesn't make the play. He leaves his feet. Keep running your feet. Run through the tackler. But this is what I love about Michigan. A little bit late, but we're playing through the wall, through the whistle, and it's spring ball, and we're going to hit. We're not going to take the easy way out. We're not going to tag our running backs. We're not going to kiss our quarterbacks. No, we're going to tackle all the way through the play, and I like this. This sends a message to the team. That sends a message right now. We're not going to back down from anybody. We're going to punch and fight every play, and that's the culture of Michigan football. That's the difference right now between Michigan and Ohio. All right. Versus zone, nowhere to go, okay? I'm not crazy about bringing here and dropping here. I think this is a better defensive rush player. Why aren't we bringing him? Why are we bringing him and dropping him where he's manned up on a tight end? That's a mismatch. But we get away with it on the defensive side. But we're only sending 4. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go. Nobody's open. We're sitting in our zones, and we're still getting some pressure on the defense on the quarterback. That's why I like our base defense, our zone defense. I really, I hope we're not going to be blitzing all that much this year. That's what I would say to that. And then good pressure from base again. Here we are playing base. Nowhere to go. Look at that coverage in the secondary. Watch this coverage back here. Is there anywhere to go? I mean, Denigol misses this throw. He throws it behind Hansen. But Hansen's covered. He's covered. So I love our zone package, our base defense. I love it with 2 down linemen. I think that's more than enough. And I thought we played real well when we did that. Not this one, but the next one. Okay. Nope. Must be down here then. Okay, let's see if one thing I had a problem with Orgy most of the day is this kind of stuff right here. It's complete, but it's behind. Look, do you see his hands going behind him? Denny? You see his hands? He's behind him.
I'm looking.
You see it right there? His hands, the ball is behind the receiver. And so the receiver has to turn back, lose his momentum, and catch the ball from there, behind. Behind. Another one. This is something that really Orgy needs to work on this summer. I don't know what he saw here, but again, it's behind. See how he had to turn there, Denny? You see how Klein had to turn?
Yeah.
It's behind him. He's got to correct that, because if he does, he's going to be that much better, that much more of a threat at quarterback. We know he can run. If he can throw those passes and complete them the correct way, I think he's going to be very, very dangerous quarterback. Again,
is he downgraded when they watch him through the film? Because no, he didn't lead them, but he put the ball on those guys. I mean, you're saying it was a little bit behind him on both of those, though, huh?
Right. Denny, yeah. But those little kind of things can make – they can be the difference between plays and big plays.
I hear you. Okay.
Hitting somebody in stride as opposed to them turning around, catching the ball, and then regaining their momentum. Totally different scenario. Again, here's a 4th down. He puts it where, okay, let's just get the 1st down. I'm not going to make a great play and try to make it outside. I think he uses good judgment here and just puts the ball out there catchable for the receiver. So nice job. Jump a little bit of a jump pass there. See how he gets off his feet a little bit? Little alley-oop there and completes it. But I would like to see him a little bit more out in front of the receivers coming in the spring. Rush 4, nowhere to go. I love our base defense, and I'm hoping this is where we stay. Again, rushing 4, we still get pressure. There's going to be 2 people. When you rush 4, there's going to be 2 people that are one-on-one. So, and we've got some of the best pass rushers in the country, especially up the gut. So, this is something I think we're going to rethink during the summer. I think we're going to find out that our base defense is plenty good enough to carry us. Another kid I didn't mention here earlier, Jacob Oden. He's a freshman. This is a great job. This is Klein in the middle of the field by himself, one-on-one. Here's this kid one-on-one with Klein. Klein's a big tight end, big target, but he keeps his feet long enough to just trip him up. I want to keep my feet a little bit longer than that, but keeps his feet long enough just to make that play and stop a touchdown. Because at that point in time, the Blue scores. That game's a totally different game. So that's all I got, Denny.
Hey, I loved it. Rashad says Orgy needs time and reps and experience.
Yep.
As he will be used. Hopefully, he's using his time to get reps and experience as he goes into the upcoming season. If you had somebody that told me, and this is kind of debate that goes on, that Orgy is going to be able to run this offense and he is going to be able to get Michigan in the end zone, and he's going to be better than folks thought, and Michigan can beat Texas with him, I'll buy that. If you say, hey, he could struggle and he could get replaced early in the season, I see that too. So I don't know, like if you're a big Michigan fan, you cross your fingers. There's nothing you can do about it. We'll see if he's going to be.
I think Orgy can run this offense. I think he can be extremely successful. I love the fact that he's a running quarterback. I love running quarterbacks, Denny. I love running quarterbacks. The thing I'm talking about with his passes a little bit behind, those are correctable. Those are things he can work on this summer and start correcting that and come into the fall a little bit more prepared. But if he starts getting those little things down on his passing game, he's going to be a tremendously effective quarterback because he's going to be hard to bring down on a running game. And so, no, Orgy can be a great. I'm just pointing that out. That's the place where in my opinion, he needs to work the most on is hitting his receivers in stride.
Yeah, and I think he's a work in progress, but I think Michigan can beat Texas with Alex Orgy under center, and I think Michigan can win the Big Ten and get into the college football playoff with Alex Orgy as their quarterback. I think the thing, and I try to remind myself, quarterback's important. We scrutinize and look at every single throw. Here's Jerry talking about some of these throws. Michigan's different than 99% of the teams in college football. Quarterback's important, but offensive line and running back and tight end is, pretty close to being as important. And 3 years ago, Cade McNamara did a really nice job at the controls for Michigan and got them into the college football playoff. And, Cade McNamara did a nice job. I'm not trying to, Alex Orgy can lead this team to where they want to go this upcoming season. That's how I feel about it right now.
Absolutely. No, I'm fine with Orgy. I just I want him to hit some of these little things that he can improve on, and I think he's going to be a very effective quarterback.
Great. Well, Jerry, you having a great weekend. Enjoy yourself out. Don't get arrested going to the golf course. Let's try to mind the police barriers and everything else because they'll lock you up and have you in an orange suit and taking a picture of you. And 1 minute you're just going in to think about enjoying some weather at a golf course, and next thing you know, you're behind bars. So we don't want to see that.
Well, I'll be careful, Denny. I will be careful. Hail to the victors.
All right, smash that like button. We love those 5-star reviews for Jerry Diorio, Dennis Fithian. Thanks for watching. Have a great